Hello, Abigail here with the astrology and tarot reading for the new moon in Cancer. This new moon falls on a Tuesday. It is the 14th of July in 2026. It is at 21 degrees of Cancer, and it is a special one. Firstly, it's always a special one. It's the only moon where the moon is at home, domicile in Cancer, unless you get something like a new moon, which we don't have this year. Not a new moon, a blue moon, which we don't have a blue moon this year, or a second moon, which is when you have like a really early new moon and then a full moon and then a really late new moon or an earlier full moon. You understand it's a pattern. Anyways, so 21 degrees, it's 4:43 a.m. on this day, and it is basically not aspected by anything. So when we're talking aspects, we're talking angles. So there is a conjunction, which if you're a nerd is not an aspect because it's 0 degrees. So we have obviously the moon and the sun in a conjunction. Normal, that's a new moon. But we have Mercury off to the side by 1 degree. And a really, really, really loose square with Saturn. It's not tight enough for me to consider it super impactful, but there might be a feeling of restructuring kind of like in the background, which is also going to be amplified by the fact that Mercury is retrograde. Now, one thing that I do love about a Mercury retrograde Cazimi moment is that this is a moment of illumination. The only tricky thing is that this is off by a degree. And so technically, if we're going by the strict traditional rules, is under, well, it's combust because under the rays is 8 to 17 degrees. But basically, 1 degree or more to 8 degrees is called combust, which is when you're kind of within the fire of the sun. When you get in the center, it's kind of like that energy of the eye of a storm where everything is calm and you get a burst of vision, which we're going to get on the Sunday before this moon. But in this moon, we are kind of dealing with a kind of fried Mercury. So while I do think there's a benefic energy, I do think that there is hope, and this definitely feels like a threshold, partially because the next new moon is going to be the new moon in Leo, which is an eclipse. And it is an eclipse on the new axis, which we will have just entered right before this. I think it's not this week, but what's it, the week after? Yes, not this week that I'm talking about with this new moon, but the week after, we have the lunar nodes moving into Leo and Aquarius. And so it's an interesting backdrop for this new moon, is like we're on the threshold, we're at a point of change, we're at a shift. There's also a thing that is coming that a lot of astrologers have a lot of conflicting feelings on, which is the Barbalt basket, which is a configuration in the sky that is supposed to be really beneficial for humanity and society. And some people are like really excited for it and they're heralding it as this great thing. Some people are feeling really disappointed. Some folks are being like, well, then who does it benefit? But regardless of the quality of this energy, of the current configuration of this new moon, it is a time of change and turning point. All of 2026 has been, it's like part 2 of 2025. Things will start to stabilize in 2027, but honestly, probably not till the fall because we have triple eclipses in the summer. So this is kind of an interesting moment because next year, this time, we're going to start to get the eclipses in Capricorn and in Cancer. So this is a pretty big deal. And even though you're like, Abigail, you're talking about a year from now, what are we doing? This is astrology. We talk about a year from now. But it does make this new moon feel more important. It makes this new moon feel impactful. It makes this new moon feel as though we're kind of growing up. And with the Mercury retrograde and with where it is in the sun, it may not be apparent on the day exactly what is happening or exactly what we are learning or what is changing. But something definitely is, and we're at a turning point. We're at a turning point in 2026. We're at a turning point in the next several years. And because of the intensity of the energy and the energies we are up against, specifically the powers that be. When I say turning point, I don't mean things are getting better from here on out. It's like we're starting to turn the ship around, but we're not going to get this ship around fully probably till 2030, 2032 is what a lot of people are looking at, me included. This is not to give up hope, me turning this thing into like, no, Abigail, it's never changing. It just means we're going to be experiencing a lot of shifts and upheavals. This is very typical for the first few years of Pluto being in the sign. And not only do we have Pluto in a new sign, we have Neptune in a new sign, which is roughly a 14-year cycle. We have Uranus in a new sign, which is a 7-year cycle. We have Saturn in a new sign, which is a 2.5-year cycle. So know that these are pivotal times. Know that if you're feeling the pressure, this is why we're in a very unique place in astrology. People online are often like, astrologers are always saying there's a once in a lifetime event, and like kind of, but also the last 2 years it has been. It legitimately has been like once in a lifetime astrology. Like since 2020, we've consistently had once in a lifetime astrology, because of the way the planets have been configured, because of Saturn crossing over and connecting with Pluto and with Jupiter at the same time, and then the Mars Saturn conjunction at the early degrees of Pluto, which is now what we're kind of facing 5 years later. There's just a lot going on. So I want you to know that if you're like, Abigail, why does this moon feel weird? It's because this moon is kind of a pinnacle of a moment in all of our lives, in the shifting of the world. It's also the first new moon in a year that well, not first new moon, but like one of the bigger moments in Cancer in a year that we haven't had Jupiter nearby. So it's a completely different vibe than the last year. And we're still getting our feet. We're still trying to understand what that Cancer transit was about. I think it kind of cracked open a lot of the ways in which we have been constricting Cancer to a specific idea as a form of comfort, rather than taking Cancer in its raw nature. And I think this is an indication and an encouragement for all of us to stop putting certain signs in certain boxes. Also, Jupiter in these situations does a lot of mitigating. So Jupiter was taking the hits for everything else that was going on. But in this new moon, it is a turning point. It is a shift. I would not be surprised if a lot of people in like from Sunday to Tuesday specifically, if there's not a lot of people recognizing what is not functional in their life and how they have to change and shift moving forward. I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of relationships end around this time. Firstly, we're in a Mercury retrograde. Secondly, we're heading into eclipses, which always end things. But also, this new moon is showing you what you could have and what is possible and what you do deserve. And if you're in any situation, it doesn't have to be romantic, but if you're in any situation or any romantic situation where you're not getting your needs where you're not getting your needs met, where you're not feeling that love and you're not feeling that care, this is the time. This is the time that you are going to be like, oh, I have not been treated the way I should have been. I might not even be treating myself the way that I should be treating myself. And so I would encourage you, rather than seeing this as a time to manifest and do a lot, I would sit down and ask yourself what you need. What you need, what is necessary going forward, what kind of drives you in life and makes you feel more attuned and more attached to the world. What are the things that make you want to be alive and want to connect to the world, and how can you infuse that into your life a bit more? It's very much the energy of what can be, and you will recognize very starkly what isn't, and that might leave a sense of loss. And I kind of want you to be ready to feel that kind of emptiness. um but it's loss in a good way, in the sense of like, now we know how to resolve it, which is a very mercurial idea. I'm a Virgo rising, so I'm like, yeah, we're gonna get information about how to change. Great. not necessarily what everyone else wants to hear. So take this as a time to look where things aren't working, to accept where something might have like hit the point of no return. um Personal experience, I ignored last year's very good, very benefic, I think it was conjunct Jupiter, and maybe Venus, or maybe it was just conjunct Venus, but it was conjunct one or both of the benefics last year. And I was in a situation where I wasn't having my needs met, where I wasn't receiving the love and care I deserved. And instead of listening to it, I kept pushing. And eventually that situation fell apart in the fall, right around the eclipses. Well, not around the eclipses, but yeah, right around the eclipses. What am I saying? Yeah, the Virgo Pisces eclipses. Right around the Virgo Pisces eclipses. And then I held on for a couple of weeks and then it was over. But this is my encouragement for someone who has learned better to not hold on past this point. If a friendship is falling apart, if a relationship is falling apart, if a job is falling apart, if a living situation is falling apart, obviously take care of yourself and protect yourself, but allow it to fall apart as much as you can. And if you do have to remain in it, detach yourself from the emotional side of things so that you can get out and survive. Because this moon is going to show us where things are not working, where things are not functioning, where we are not being held, where we are not being met. And that is the gift that Mercury is bringing to us this season, especially without having any aspects to any other of the planets. We really get to just sit into Cancer energy and kind of percolate a bit. And the message is what is working for you and what is not working. Also, I think Cancer gets like, oh, the soft, nurturing mother, but Cancer is also being done with something. Cancer is also, it's the other side of Capricorn. It's also knowing when something isn't enough and letting it go. Cancer's little cranky little crab. And I also associate Cancer a lot with the ocean, with its association with the moon and tides. The sea just is and lets things go. It also drowns people and destroys things, and also has a massive capacity for life when we're not destroying it with climate change. And so you are teaming with life. Don't allow your situation and your circumstances to kill off the vibrancy of who you are. And if you are currently getting your vibrancy killed, this moon is a sign to cut it. And if you do not cut it with this moon, the eclipses in August will do that for you. And if you do not cut it with the eclipses in August, the Venus retrograde in October will do it for you. And if you do not do it with the Venus retrograde in this place, you will get it with the Mars retrograde that starts right before the end of the year. So you might as well release it now so that when those retrogrades happen, when Mars retrogrades happen, which I'm one of the people who believes that if retrogrades are an opportunity for the opposite of what you currently have to happen. And so if you have freed yourself up and you have cleansed and purged your life, retrogrades can actually be a great time of energy coming in fact, because it kind of fills the vacuum and the void. So clear now so that the stuff that you actually want has the opportunity to come in. And something that I posted on Threads today, and I'm recording this on, what is it, Monday of the week before this, you know, this is also a time to clean and cleanse your space as a symbol, and I'm speaking to myself because I really need to do it to my space, as a symbol of you welcoming in new energy. So if you are not happy with where you are, this is an opportunity to change that, or at least to get the little mind wheels moving towards change, towards shifts, towards moving. Because if you don't, you will just repeat the cycle until whatever you're holding on to is gone. And then you'll have to be like, oh, I was holding on to that for no reason because it wasn't going to last anyways, whether it's a job or a family situation or a lover. If you're not getting your needs met there, it is that time. And here's the deal. If it is meant to stay, you will be able to have conversations. You will find resolution in this moment. That's the other side of this coin. But if you're not finding any resolution through communication, it's never going to work. Whatever you're holding on to, never going to work. And there's no shame in just letting it go and just releasing it and just moving past it and finding a life that better suits you and finding people that better love you and finding spaces where you are appreciated and are given the value and the care that you deserve. And that is what this Cancer new moon is here to tell you and is here to give to you, is that you deserve more. And that, yeah, it's going to take some adjustment. It's going to take some redirection, some recommitment, some all the re's we get in the Mercury retrograde, some rethinking of things, some remittance, whatever RE word you want to use. you know, and it might not seem like a gift in the moment, but it is a gift, because if you take it for what it is, you will move into your dreams and desires so much faster, by letting stuff go during this lunation specifically. A lot of times people see new moons because we're starting something as reception and full moons as release, but technically full moons are a harvest. That's how I like to frame it, is new moons are planting and full moons are a harvest. We're planting something, an idea, a desire, a thought. So plant what you want in the deep, dark, cool Cancerian earth, fertilized by the ocean. And something will take root and flourish from it, especially with how chaotic the end of the year is. It might actually happen pretty fast. But to harness chaos energy like that, you have to have cleared the BS from your life. And this is the opportunity to do so. And if you do not clear the BS and you continue on, that's fine. Just know that you will be dealing with whatever is disturbing you later. Now, if you're not experiencing too much of this because you've already cleansed and cleared your life, then this is very much a time to really hone in on what you want. To be like, so universe is taking everything and now I have like free space to work with. What do I want to put in this free space? What are my manifestations? If you don't have a manifestation practice, I would get one. I'm not talking about like the kind of everything's going to be okay, spiritual bypassing, but just believing and finding energetic means to project and shift your reality. And while, like I said, I don't think we're going to get tons and tons of stuff with this new moon necessarily, although I do think some stuff can happen. It's just going to be a one-off or kind of an out of nowhere, which is a very Mercury retrograde thing. It is leading up to a productive and a fulfilling eclipse season if you can do the work ahead of time, especially with that Saturn full moon right before the eclipses in Aquarius. Like, you will be honored for what the work and the labor you've done quite soon, because we're coming up on, we've had the new moon in the full moon in Capricorn, which is another one of those Saturnian ones, honoring the work that you do. We're going to have another one in a slightly different vibe, honoring the work that you do. So keep doing the work, and don't give up on your dreams if they are valuable, but give up on any dreams that are draining you and making you feel less than. And I think usually what that comes down to is that we have centered someone or something at the center of a dream that is taking from us, rather than centering ourselves and centering our needs and desires. Anyways, that's my read for this new moon in Cancer. If you have any questions, you can ask them below. I'm going to pull the tarot. I'm also going to do probably another little shorts tarot reading for the general public, because those are popular. So if you want to check that out, you check that out here on IG, on YouTube, or you can check it out on my Instagram. But yeah, and also please like and subscribe. It helps the channel to grow and gets my videos out there, makes me feel good about my work, and contribute to me feeling good about myself. But let's look in the cards. I was thinking about not doing these tarot readings anymore. You can let me know if you like them or don't. I would appreciate that, actually, because these videos don't necessarily do super well. And I don't know if it's the kind of mashing together two very different, not very different, but two different practices that often have different followings. Not always, but astrology tarot reading combination is more of a recent thing. Was not the case earlier. I'm sure that people have been doing it for years, but it just wasn't a thing for a lot of things. Yes, yes, yes. Oh, yes, the minor arcana coming out to speak to us. I want one more. I think, yes, yes, yes. Basically what I said. This is Two of Pentacles, Knight of Wands. It's a reevaluation around desires. It's a reevaluation around where we want to go, where we're headed. You can't really take off until you reconsider, which is very much this kind of retrograde pulling us back. We do have the Knight of Coins. I do think this is going to bring in a certain measure of abundance and financial control, but not until we get clear and right with what we want. This is also, like I said, an opportunity of, like, I sense that some of us might be in kind of a tricky in between where, like, yes, we've let things go and removed things, but we're still kind of cutting the final cords. We're still releasing some of that energy. And so if you find yourself in the middle of the road, you know, allow yourself to grieve and let go, and also allow yourself to plan. We can do both too. We do have the death card. This is kind of the final knell for something. There's a death knell within this new moon, which might seem dark and sad, but it's like, if this doesn't die off, you don't get the other things. And with the Eight of Coins that we have over here, I want to be clear, it's not saying that you have to, like, destroy everything you've ever worked on. I think there's just one or two with the Two of Pentacles, one or two specific situations in your life that are kind of holding up the show, that are kind of holding things back. And with the Eight of Pentacles, I think it's actually mostly around relationships, but what is going to stay is the work you've been doing around work and labor. Now, relationships also include work, but I don't think, for some of you, it might be changing careers, but I think for a lot of you, it's about finding a way to integrate what you already know into something. And maybe that is shifting into a different career, but it's not a career where you're going to ditch all of your prior knowledge and have to learn from the ground up. It's about integrating the experiences you've had into the life you now want. We do have our Ten of Wands, which is always comes up when we're experiencing burnout. If you are feeling burnt out, don't do anything. Like, do the mental work, write in your journal, but, like, you don't have to do any crazy rituals around this moon. I would suggest maybe repeating a mantra or taking 10 minutes to meditate, and do some affirmations. But I'm just not really feeling like this new moon requires a bunch of candle magic, which I love fire, so I'm usually suggesting candle magic. But for this one, if you are burnt out, allow yourself to rest, allow yourself to sink into the darkness, because we are heading into eclipse season, because it is about to get even crazier, if you can imagine. And now is the time. But we do have this Ace of Cups, which to me always screams Cancer new moon energy. New energy is coming in, new energy is entering our lives. We are coming into a new phase. It just, there are some things we have to complete first. And it's not going to be easy or simple to complete said things, and it's not necessarily fun. But once we're on the other side, once we can get through this, through to the eclipses, and I don't want to give false hope because we do have some rough astrology at the end of the year, and I like to be a balanced astrologer. But things are going to start to shift and change. It's about harnessing the difficulties and these energies to move forward, to find abundance and wealth and growth within difficulty, because life is naturally hard. And I think a lot of us, which this is a very kind of white colonial idea of like life is easy. Whereas I think a lot of other cultures are like, no, we make life better by having community. In the cultures I was raised in, which were very white and very supremacist, there's very imperialist. There's this whole idea that like life is easy and we're kind of owed ease in life. And while I do think everyone deserves ease in life by nature, living on this planet, being at the whims of the way the world is in many ways as individuals, it is actually naturally hard. And the easy points are the bright points. I'm not saying that life always sucks, but like difficulty is more often than not the lot of most of us. And yeah, some people do get to breeze through life, but those are the minority. And so it's about finding joy and hope and connection and balance within the world that we have, within the lives that we've been given, rather than everything always being easy. And if you can accept that in this retrograde and in this time, you can start working with the energy, understanding that we are up against a lot. And also, I've been thinking about this a lot. Like, based on the way the systems are set up, it's a miracle that any of us succeed, especially if you have any marginalization whatsoever. And so believe in magic, believe in the impossible, but know that we are up against it. And that we, in a life that is difficult, we deserve support, we deserve love, and we deserve care. And if that's not something you're finding in your life, this new moon is going to highlight that and say, hey, you deserve something better. And if you don't go seek something better now, the eclipses will help you take out the trash. So will the Venus retrograde, and so will the Mars retrograde. So keep that in mind. Anyways, my loves, that is my reading for you. If you have any questions or comments, you can pop them below. If you have any requests for a specific topic or a specific reading, you can do that there too. But I love you all, and I wish you a very blessed new moon in